At my birthday. No calls, no texts. I posted, celebrated 30th with amazing friends. With photos. Mom commented, your birthday's in October. I replied publicly, it's November. Same date for 30 years. I woke up on November 14th expecting nothing, which sounds depressing, but after 29 years of forgotten birthdays, you learn to manage expectations. My phone sat on the nightstand, silent. No notifications. No messages. The sun streamed through my apartment window in Chicago, and I made coffee like it was any other Tuesday. By noon, I checked my phone again. Still nothing. My older sister Vanessa had messaged me 3 days ago about her promotion at work. My mother Ruth had called last week to ask if I knew where she'd stored her winter coats. My father Daniel had texted on Sunday about a documentary he thought I'd enjoy. But today? Silence. I stared at the date on my phone. November 14, 1994 was the day I entered this world. November 14, 2024 marked 3 decades of existence. You'd think after 30 years, the people who raised you might set a reminder. This wasn't new. When I turned 16, my parents threw Vanessa a surprise party for her 18th the same weekend and genuinely seemed confused when I asked about my birthday dinner. My 21st birthday fell on Thanksgiving that year, and the entire family discussed Vanessa's new apartment over turkey while I sat there legally able to drink for the first time, unacknowledged. At 25, I spent the day alone because Vanessa had a crisis with her then boyfriend, and my parents drove 4 hours to comfort her. The pattern was so consistent it had become predictable. But predictable doesn't mean painless. Around 2 o'clock, my best friend Tasha called. Happy birthday, beautiful. We're still on for tonight, right? Tasha remembered. Tasha always remembered. We'd met in college, and she'd been the first person in my life who treated my existence as something worth celebrating. Absolutely. Where are we going? That new tapas place on Division Street. 8 o'clock. We're something that makes you feel gorgeous. I hung up feeling lighter. My work friends remembered too. Grant from accounting had left a birthday card on my desk yesterday, and Lucia from HR had sent me a Spotify playlist titled 30 Bangers for Your 30th. These people had known me for 3 years. My family had known me for 3 decades. The afternoon crawled by. I worked from home, responding to emails and finishing a project proposal. My phone sat beside my laptop, and I hated myself for checking it every 20 minutes. Each time, the absence of notifications felt like a small cut. 5 o'clock came and went. 6 o'clock passed. At 7, I got ready for dinner, choosing a deep blue dress I'd been saving. I did my makeup carefully, taking time with my eyeliner. If my family wouldn't acknowledge this milestone, I'd make it memorable anyway. Dinner was perfect. Tasha had invited 8 of our mutual friends, and they'd decorated the private corner of the restaurant with balloons and streamers. Someone had ordered a cake that read 30 never looked better. We drank wine, shared plates of patatas bravas and gambas al ajillo, and laughed until my cheeks hurt. Around 9:30, Lucia pulled out her phone. We need photos. This is too good not to document. We spent the next 20 minutes taking pictures. Group shots with everyone raising their glasses. Close-ups of the cake. Candid moments of people mid-laugh. Tasha insisted on one of just the 2 of us, arms around each other's shoulders. Post these, she said. Let the world know you're 30 and thriving. I selected the best photos when I got home around midnight, still buzzing from the evening. The caption came easily, celebrated 30th with amazing friends. Grateful for people who make life beautiful. I hit share and plugged my phone into charge. The post went live on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. Within minutes, likes and comments started rolling in from college friends, former coworkers, people I hadn't spoken to in years. All of them wishing me well. I fell asleep satisfied, thinking maybe the silence from my family was for the best. I had people who cared. That was enough. Sleep came easily that night, aided by the wine and the warmth of genuine celebration. I dreamed of nothing in particular, just vague impressions of laughter and clinking glasses. When my alarm went off at 7, I hit snooze twice before dragging myself out of bed. My head felt pleasantly fuzzy, not quite a hangover but the gentle reminder that I'd had a good time. I made coffee and settled onto my couch with my laptop, planning to get some work done before the official start of the day. My company was flexible about remote work, and I blocked off the morning for a project that required concentration. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of traffic outside and the occasional gurgle of the radiator. Around 8:30, I opened my laptop and logged into my email. 43 new messages since last night, most of them work-related. I sorted through them methodically, responding to urgent queries and flagging others for later. My boss, Angela, had sent a meeting invitation for Friday to discuss the proposal I'd submitted. Good sign. I switched over to Slack and caught up on messages from my team. Grant had posted a gif of a birthday cake in our department channel with the caption "Shout out to our November birthday queen." 3 people had added celebration emojis. These small acknowledgments from coworkers I'd known for only a few years meant more than they probably realized. My phone sat face down on the coffee table. I'd left it there deliberately, not wanting to start the day by checking for messages that wouldn't be there. But curiosity got the better of me around 9. I flipped it over and saw the notifications from my birthday posts. Dozens of likes, plenty of comments from friends and acquaintances. What I didn't see were any missed calls from my family. The absence shouldn't have surprised me anymore, but it did. Some part of me had hoped that maybe this morning they'd realize their mistake, that someone would check Facebook and see the birthday posts and think, "Oh no, we forgot." But the family group chat showed no new messages since 3 days ago when Vanessa had shared a recipe for butternut squash soup. The last text from my mother was from Sunday, asking if I knew where she could buy good quality bed sheets. My father's most recent message was a link to that documentary, sent on Monday afternoon. I set the phone down and returned to my laptop. Work was a welcome distraction. I spent the next 2 hours drafting copy for a client presentation, losing myself in the familiar rhythm of choosing words and structuring arguments. Marketing had always come naturally to me, this ability to see what people wanted to hear and how to say it. If only I could market myself to my own family with the same effectiveness. By 11, I needed a break. I grabbed my coat and wallet and headed to the coffee shop on the corner. The November air was crisp but not unbearable, the kind of cold that wakes you up rather than drives you inside. The sidewalks were busy with people running errands, mothers with strollers, students with backpacks, delivery drivers maneuvering through the crowd. The coffee shop smelled like cinnamon and espresso. I ordered a latte and a blueberry muffin, then claimed a small table by the window. Outside, the city moved at its usual pace. Inside, I sat with my thoughts in my phone, which I checked again despite knowing better. Still nothing from family. But Tasha had texted, "How's the birthday hangover? Not too brutal, I hope." I smiled and typed back, "Totally manageable. Last night was perfect. Thank you for organizing everything." Her response came quickly, "You deserved it. Same time next year, bigger and better." I finished my latte slowly, watching people pass by the window. A father walking with his daughter, maybe 6 years old, holding her hand as they navigated the crowded sidewalk. A couple laughing about something on one of their phones. An elderly woman checking her watch, possibly waiting for someone. Families everywhere, I thought. People who remembered each other, who showed up, who made the effort. I pushed the thought away and headed back to my apartment. The rest of the day stretched ahead, and I filled it with productive tasks. I organized my closet, finally getting rid of clothes I hadn't worn in 2 years. I meal prepped for the week, chopping vegetables and portioning out chicken and rice into containers. I called my grandmother on my father's side, who lived in Arizona and rarely spoke to the rest of the family. "Happy birthday, sweetie," she said when she answered, her voice warm and familiar. My throat tightened unexpectedly. "You remembered?" Of course I remembered. November 14th. I was there when you were born, you know. Held you when you were just 3 hours old. We talked for nearly an hour. She told me stories about my father as a child, about family dynamics I'd never fully understood. She asked about my job, my friends, my life in Chicago. Real questions that showed genuine interest. "Have you heard from your parents today?" she asked eventually. I hesitated. "No, actually. I think they forgot." A long pause. "Again?" "Again." She sighed deeply. "Your father is brilliant in many ways, but awareness has never been his strong suit. And your mother, bless her, she gets so focused on Vanessa that everything else becomes background noise." "It's fine," I said automatically, the lie I'd been telling for years. "No, honey, it's not fine. And you don't have to pretend it is." Her voice was gentle but firm. "You deserve better than being an afterthought." After we hung up, I sat on my couch feeling the weight of her words. You deserve better than being an afterthought. Simple truth, simply stated. But hearing it from someone who'd known me since birth, who had no agenda or favoritism, made it land differently. Evening came, and with it, the familiar loneliness that always followed good days. The birthday celebration was over. The excitement had faded. Now came the quiet reality of another year begun, another milestone reached largely alone as far as my family was concerned. I made myself dinner, pasta with marinara sauce and a side salad. I ate while watching a cooking show, the kind of mindless entertainment that filled the space without demanding attention. My phone sat on the couch beside me, screen dark. Around 9, I decided to check social media one more time before bed. I opened Facebook and scrolled through my feed. Friends posting photos of their kids, political memes I immediately scrolled past, someone's vacation photos from Mexico. Normal stuff. Then I saw my birthday posts from the night before. The photos Lucia had insisted we take were getting good traction. People I hadn't spoken to in years were liking them, leaving brief comments. Happy birthday. 30 looks good on you. Hope it was amazing. On impulse, I read through all the comments, soaking in the attention from near strangers and distant friends. These people, who owed me nothing, had taken 30 seconds to acknowledge my existence. My parents, who'd raised me for 18 years, couldn't manage the same. The bitterness was back, sharp and familiar. I closed the app and plugged my phone into charge, determined not to spend my first day of being 30 wallowing in family dysfunction. Tomorrow would be better. Tomorrow I'd forget about the silence and move forward with my life. Except tomorrow brought something I didn't expect. The next morning, I woke to my phone vibrating continuously. 17 missed calls from my mother. 23 text messages in the family group chat. My email had 6 new messages, all from relatives. I opened Facebook first, and my stomach dropped. My mother had commented on my birthday post at 6 in the morning, "Honey, your birthday is in October. Why are you celebrating in November? Did we miss something?" The comment had 63 likes. Friends of my parents, distant relatives, people from my hometown all chiming in. My Aunt Lorraine had replied, "Ruth, I'm so confused. I thought her birthday was October too?" Someone I'd gone to high school with commented, "Wait, when's your actual birthday? Lol, this is wild." My sister Vanessa had written, Mom's right? Your birthday is October 14th, not November." I felt heat rising in my chest. October 14th was Vanessa's birthday. She was born exactly 2 years before me, same day, different month. Our parents had mixed us up. My hands shook as I typed my response, knowing hundreds of people would see it. It's November 14th. Same date for 30 years. Check my birth certificate if you're confused. I hit send and watched the comment appear beneath my mother's. The family group chat was exploding. My mother, call me right now. My father, there's been a misunderstanding. Vanessa, why are you being dramatic about this publicly? I muted the chat and opened my messages with Tasha. You won't believe what just happened, I typed, then explained everything. Her response was immediate, oh hell no. Keep that comment up. They deserve the embarrassment. Over the next hour, the comment section became a spectacle. Friends from college who knew the truth backed me up. I've celebrated her birthday in November for 8 years, wrote my former roommate Kelsey. Grant from work added, birth certificate doesn't lie. November 14th every year I've known her. My mother's friends started deleting their likes on her comment. A few apologized directly to me. My high school history teacher, Mrs. Pemberton, wrote, I have records from when you were in my class. Always listed as November 14th, 1994. Happy belated birthday, dear. My phone rang again. Ruth calling. I declined it. She called back immediately. Declined again. Then my father tried. Then Vanessa. Finally, I answered when Vanessa called for the 3rd time. What is wrong with you? She hissed before I could speak. Mom is crying. You're humiliating her on social media. I'm humiliating her? My voice came out sharper than intended. Vanessa, they forgot my birthday. Not for the 1st time. Not for the 5th time. They've been getting it wrong for years, and yesterday, nobody called. Nobody texted. Nobody acknowledged that I exist. It was an honest mistake about the date. An honest mistake would be calling on the wrong day but still calling. They didn't call at all. Do you understand? November 14th came and went, and I didn't hear from anyone in my family. Silence on her end. And then Mom comments publicly, confidently incorrect about when I was born, and you want me to what? Privately correct her? Let her save face while I delete proof that people actually care about me? You're being selfish, Vanessa said. This isn't just about you. The laugh that escaped me was bitter. It's literally my birthday, Vanessa. It's the one day that is actually just about me, And even then, I come second to protecting mom's feelings. I hung up before she could respond. The comments kept coming. Distant relatives started posting on their own pages about the mix-up. My uncle Wesley, my father's brother, shared my original birthday post and wrote, "Can't believe this happened. Ruth and Daniel, you need to fix this." My mother called again around noon. I answered this time. "Sweetheart, I'm so sorry." Her voice was thick with tears. "I don't know how I got the dates confused. Your father and I feel terrible." "You got them confused because you always remember Vanessa's birthday perfectly. October 14th. You throw her parties, you call her first thing in the morning, you post those long sentimental messages about how proud you are. And somewhere in your mind, that became my birthday too. That's not fair. Mom, what did you do yesterday? November 14th. What was your day like?" She hesitated. "I had coffee with Barbara in the morning. Then I went grocery shopping. In the evening, your father and I watched a movie. A normal Tuesday." "I suppose so." "Meanwhile, I turned 30. I hit a major milestone, and you were having coffee with your book club friend. If you'd reminded us it was coming up, no." I cut her off. "I'm not going to apologize for expecting my parents to remember the day I was born without a reminder. You want to know what's really unfair, Mom? I spent 16 years living in your house. I celebrated Vanessa's birthday with you every single October. I watched you plan parties and buy thoughtful gifts and make her feel special. And I kept thinking, okay, my turn comes in a month. But it never felt the same, did it? We love you just as much as your sister. Love requires action. Love is remembering. Love is showing up. You didn't show up yesterday." Another long silence. "I'll make it up to you," she finally said. "Let me take you to dinner this weekend. Anywhere you want." "I don't want to make up dinner. I wanted a phone call on my actual birthday." I hung up feeling drained. The anger that had fueled me through the morning was fading into something sadder and more resigned. The apartment felt too quiet after I ended the call. I walked to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of water, standing at the sink and looking out at the building across the street. Someone was hanging Christmas lights already, even though Thanksgiving hadn't happened yet. The sight made me feel oddly disconnected, like I was watching life happen from behind glass. My phone buzzed. A text from my Aunt Paula, my mother's younger sister. We'd always had a decent relationship, though not particularly close. "Just saw what happened on Facebook. Are you okay?" I stared at the message for a long moment before responding. "I'm fine. Just tired of being forgotten." Her reply came within seconds. "I understand. For what it's worth, I've always remembered your birthday is in November. I sent a card to your parents' house on Monday, figured they'd give it to you at Thanksgiving. A card I'd never received because my parents didn't even know to look for it." The thought almost made me laugh, except nothing about this situation was actually funny. "Thanks, Paula. I appreciate you thinking of me. Your mom called me this morning, pretty upset. I told her she needed to apologize properly, not just throw money at the problem." I felt a small surge of gratitude. At least someone in the family was willing to be honest with my mother. "Did she listen?" "You know your mother. She hears what she wants to hear. But I planted the seed." We exchanged a few more messages before she had to go. The interaction left me feeling slightly less isolated, but also more aware of how fractured my family relationships had become. Paula was kind, but she wasn't going to rock the boat too much. Nobody ever did. I spent the rest of the afternoon in a strange limbo, unable to focus on work, unwilling to engage with the ongoing Facebook drama, too restless to just sit still. I cleaned my already clean apartment. I alphabetized my bookshelf. I reorganized the contents of my junk drawer, throwing away expired coupons and tangled charging cables. Anything to keep my hands busy and my mind from spiraling into the same thoughts on repeat. Why wasn't I enough? What had I done, at birth, to deserve second place in my own family? Was it something about me specifically, or would any second child have received this treatment? Around 4 o'clock, my phone rang. Unknown number, Chicago area code? I almost didn't answer, assuming it was spam, but something made me pick up. "Hello? Hi, is this the birthday girl from Facebook?" The voice was female, unfamiliar, slightly amused. "Who is this?" "Sorry, I should have led with that. My name is Brianna. I'm friends with your friend Tasha. She showed me your post and the whole comment situation, and honestly, I had to reach out." I sat down on my couch, confused. "Okay? I run a podcast about family dysfunction and setting boundaries. It's called Blood Doesn't Mean Blind Loyalty. I know this is random, but would you be interested in coming on as a guest? Your story is exactly the kind of thing our listeners relate to. My first instinct was to say no. The last thing I needed was to broadcast my family drama to strangers on the internet. But then again, I'd already done that by leaving the comment up. And something about the idea appealed to me, the chance to talk about this with someone who understood that family relationships weren't automatically sacred just because of biology. Can I think about it? Absolutely. No pressure. I'll text you my contact info, and you can reach out if you decide you're interested. We record remotely, so you wouldn't even have to leave your apartment. After we hung up, I sat with the offer. A podcast. My story told to potentially thousands of people. My mother would absolutely hate it. Vanessa would probably never speak to me again. The thought made me smile for the first time all day. I didn't commit to anything, but I didn't dismiss it either. Instead, I saved Brianna's contact information and added a note, podcast about family boundaries. Consider it. By the time Tasha arrived that evening, I'd worked myself into a strange emotional state, somewhere between numbness and heightened awareness. Everything felt slightly surreal, like I was living in a movie about someone else's life. Tasha came over that evening with Chinese takeout and a bottle of wine. We sat on my couch, eating lo mein straight from the containers. Your comment has 400 likes now, she said, scrolling through her phone. People are really on your side. I don't feel victorious. I just feel tired. That's because you're not petty. You're hurt. There's a difference. She set down her phone and looked at me seriously. But you did the right thing. They needed to see that their forgetfulness has consequences. We finished our food and opened the wine, settling deeper into the couch. Outside, the city sounds created a distant soundtrack, sirens, car horns, the rumble of the L train a few blocks away. Inside, wrapped in blankets with my best friend, I felt anchored for the first time since this whole thing started. Tasha, can I ask you something? Always. Do you think I'm being too harsh? Like, genuinely. Not the supportive best friend answer, but your real opinion. She took a sip of wine, considering. You want my honest thought? Please. I think you've spent 30 years being too soft, and now that you're finally standing up for yourself, it feels extreme because nobody's used to it. But from an outside perspective? You posted a birthday celebration with friends and accurately stated your birth month when corrected. That's not harsh. That's just factual. Vanessa called me selfish. Vanessa's entire worldview is built on being the center of attention. You threatening that makes her uncomfortable. Tasha pulled her knees up to her chest. I've watched you shrink yourself for years. Every family story you tell, you're the afterthought. Every holiday, you're making excuses for why they forgot you or prioritized your sister. And you've been so gracious about it, so understanding, that they never had to change. The accuracy of her observation made my chest tight. I thought if I was just patient enough, just understanding enough, they'd eventually see me. But that's not how it works with people who don't want to see you. They just keep taking your patience as permission to keep ignoring you. We sat in silence for a while, both of us lost in our own thoughts. The wine bottle was half empty. The takeout containers sat open on the coffee table, mostly finished. Someone reached out about a podcast interview, I said eventually. About family boundaries and dysfunction. Tasha's eyes lit up. Brianna? She's great. I might have mentioned your situation when I saw her at yoga yesterday. You set this up? I planted a seed. You don't have to do it. But I thought maybe talking about it to someone objective might help you process. I swirled the wine in my glass, watching it catch the light. My mother would lose her mind if I went public with this beyond Facebook. Is that a reason not to do it, or a reason to consider it? The question hung between us. I didn't have an answer yet. Over the next few days, the Facebook post continued to generate reactions. Some were supportive, people sharing their own stories of forgotten birthdays and family neglect. Others were critical, distant relatives and family friends suggesting I was airing dirty laundry for attention, that family matters should be handled privately. One comment particularly stung, from a woman named Carol who'd gone to church with my parents for years. This is disrespectful. Your mother made a simple mistake and you're crucifying her publicly. Families forgive each other. I typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on, families also remember each other. 30 years of simple mistakes add up. Carol didn't respond, but 2 people liked my reply. My inbox filled with private messages, most from people I barely knew. A former co-worker shared that her parents had forgotten her college graduation. A high school acquaintance described spending every holiday feeling invisible while her siblings got attention. A cousin I hadn't spoken to in a decade admitted she'd always noticed how differently my parents treated Vanessa and me. Reading these messages, I realized my story wasn't unique. The specifics differed, but the core wound was the same: the pain of being seen by the people who were supposed to see you first. On Friday, I had my meeting with Angela about the proposal. She opened by congratulating me on the birthday, which she'd seen mentioned in the company newsletter. Then we dove into business, discussing timeline and budget and client expectations. The normalcy of it felt grounding. Afterward, Brand caught me in the hallway. "Hey, I saw some of the drama on Facebook. You doing okay?" "Honestly? I don't know yet." He nodded, understanding. "For what it's worth, I think you handled it with way more grace than I would have. My family forgets my birthday and I'm posting their addresses online." The joke made me laugh, breaking some of the tension I'd been carrying. I'll keep that strategy in reserve. Work became my refuge that week. Projects that needed attention, emails that required responses, meetings that demanded focus. In the office, I was competent and capable. I was valued for what I produced, not constantly compared to a sibling who outshone me. But evenings were harder. Alone in my apartment, I couldn't escape the constant notifications, the ongoing family group chat arguments I'd muted but could still see the preview of, the knowledge that my relationship with my parents and sister had fundamentally shifted. On Sunday, exactly 1 week after my birthday, I called Brianna back. "I'll do the podcast interview," I said when she answered. "But I want to be clear, I'm not looking for revenge or trying to destroy my family. I just want to talk about what it feels like to be forgotten." "That's exactly the kind of honest conversation we aim for," Brianna said. "How about Tuesday evening? I'll send you the recording link and some prep questions." After we finalized the details, I sat with what I'd just committed to. Another public forum, another chance for my family to feel exposed. But also another chance for me to be heard, to have my experience validated by people who understood. The prep questions arrived Monday morning. They were thoughtful, probing without being invasive. When did you first notice you were being treated differently than your sibling? What coping mechanisms did you develop? What was the final straw that made you speak up publicly? How do you balance holding people accountable with maintaining relationships? What would healing look like for you? I spent Monday evening writing out my thoughts, trying to articulate feelings I'd spent years suppressing. The exercise was harder than I expected. Putting words to the specific moments when I'd felt invisible, naming the pattern I'd pretended didn't exist, acknowledging how much it had shaped me, all of it required a level of honesty I wasn't used to. By Tuesday, I was nervous. The interview was scheduled for 7 p.m. I changed clothes 3 times, even though it was audio only. I paced my apartment, rehearsing answers that immediately sounded too practiced when spoken aloud. At 6:55, I opened the recording link and joined the virtual room. Brianna appeared on screen, warm and professional, with a setup that suggested she'd done this many times. "Ready?" she asked. I took a deep breath. "Ready." The interview lasted 90 minutes. Brianna asked the prepared questions but also followed interesting threads as they emerged. She shared some of her own family experiences, creating a conversation rather than an interrogation. I found myself opening up more than I'd intended, talking about childhood memories I hadn't examined in years. When we finished, I felt wrung out but also oddly lighter. Speaking the truth out loud, having it received without judgment or dismissal, was more cathartic than I'd anticipated. "This is going to resonate with so many people," Brianna said as we wrapped up. "The episode will go live next Monday. I'll send you the link when it's published." I thanked her and logged off, then sat in the quiet of my apartment processing what I'd just done. Another bridge potentially burned with my family. Another public declaration of my pain. But also, another step toward not apologizing for taking up space. The post stayed up. I refused to delete it, despite multiple requests from family members who thought I was being vindictive. My Aunt Lorraine called and tried to play mediator, suggesting that family business should stay private. I reminded her that she'd been the one to publicly question my birthday in the comments. 3 days after my birthday, a package arrived. Inside was an expensive bracelet with a note from my parents: "We're so sorry. Please forgive us. Love, Mom and Dad." I put the bracelet in my jewelry box without trying it on. Guilt gifts didn't erase abandonment. Vanessa texted me a week later, "Mom's still upset about this. She says she can't go on Facebook without seeing people talk about it. You've made your point. Can you please delete the post?" I responded, "Why is her discomfort more important than mine?" "Because she's our mother. And I'm her daughter. Doesn't that count for something?" She didn't reply. Thanksgiving approached, and Ruth called to ask if I was coming home for the holiday. The question felt loaded. Part of me wanted to skip it, to avoid the awkward tension that would hang over the dinner table. But another part of me refused to be pushed out of family gatherings because I demanded basic recognition. "I'll be there," I said. The day itself was exactly as uncomfortable as I'd anticipated. My parents were overly attentive, offering me the best seat, serving me first, asking repeatedly if I needed anything. Vanessa barely spoke to me. Her husband Tyler made small talk about his job, clearly brief to keep things light. During dessert, my father cleared his throat. "We wanted to say something. Your mother and I have been doing a lot of thinking since your birthday." Here it comes, I thought. The big apology speech. "We realize we haven't always been as attentive as we should have been," Ruth added. "And we want to do better." I waited for more, but that was apparently it. "Okay," I said simply. "We're going to set reminders on our phones," my father continued. "For birthdays, for holidays, for important events. We don't want this to happen again." The fact that they needed phone reminders to remember their daughter's birthday stung more than the original offense. But I nodded. That sounds like a good start. Vanessa finally spoke up. "Can we move past this now? It's been 2 weeks." "It's been 30 years, I corrected. 2 weeks ago just made it public." The table fell silent. My mother looked down at her plate. My father reached for his wine glass. Tyler suddenly became very interested in his pumpkin pie. "I'm not saying this to be cruel," I continued, my voice steady. "But you don't get to decide when I'm done being hurt. You don't get to put a timeline on my healing because my pain makes you uncomfortable." Ruth's eyes filled with tears, but I didn't apologize. Vanessa shot me a look that could freeze water. But I held my ground. We finished dessert in tense silence. I helped clear the table, kissed my parents goodbye, and drove back to Chicago feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Standing up for myself shouldn't have felt so foreign, but it did. December brought the holidays, and with them, shift. My mother called me twice a week, not because she needed something, but just to talk. My father sent me articles he thought I'd find interesting, with actual notes about why. Small gestures, but consistent ones. Vanessa and I remained distant. She built her identity around being the favorite, the successful one, the daughter who exceeded expectations. My public confrontation had disrupted that narrative, and she wasn't ready to examine her role in the family dynamic. On December 24th, Christmas Eve, a card arrived in the mail. Inside was a handwritten letter from my mother, 3 pages long. She detailed memories from my childhood that she cherished. She apologized specifically for each forgotten birthday she could recall. She acknowledged the pattern of putting Vanessa first and admitted she didn't fully understand why she'd done it. "I'm not asking you to forgive me immediately," she wrote. "I'm asking you to let me try to be the mother you deserved all along." I read the letter twice, then called her. "I got your card," I said when she answered. "I meant every word." "I know you did. And I appreciate it. But Mom, I need you to understand something. This isn't about one forgotten birthday. It's about feeling invisible in my own family for most of my life. It's about watching Vanessa get everything I wanted and being told I was selfish for wanting it too. I see that now. I didn't before, but I do now. Good. Because I'm not going to keep shrinking myself to make everyone else comfortable. I'm not going to delete posts that prove I matter. I'm not going to apologize for demanding basic respect. I wouldn't want you to," she said quietly. "Your strength is something I should have nurtured, not discouraged." We talked for over an hour. It didn't fix everything, but it felt like a real beginning. Christmas Day at my parents' house was different. Ruth had made my favorite dishes alongside the traditional ones. She bought gifts she'd clearly put thought into, not last-minute panic purchases. She introduced me to relatives as my daughter who works in marketing and just got promoted, sharing details about my life she'd actually bothered to learn. Vanessa pulled me aside before dinner. "I owe you an apology too." I raised an eyebrow, genuinely surprised. "I've been thinking about what you said. About how I reacted. I was more worried about Mom's reputation than your feelings, and that was wrong." She fidgeted with her necklace. "I think I've been defensive because acknowledging how they treated you means acknowledging how much easier I had it. And that makes me complicit. Yeah, I said. It does. She flinched but nodded. I'm going to work on that. On being a better sister. If you let me. Actions, Vanessa. Not words. Show me. I will. The Facebook post stayed up. People still commented occasionally, usually friends tagging each other with "this is insane" or "can you imagine?" It became a marker, a line in the sand. This is what happens when you forget me. This is the cost of taking me for granted. Some family members never spoke to me again, convinced I'd aired dirty laundry for attention. I didn't lose sleep over those relationships. Anyone who sided with my parents' embarrassment over my hurt wasn't someone I needed in my life. My actual friends, the ones who'd shown up at that tapas restaurant, who'd celebrated me without needing a reminder, became my chosen family. Tasha hosted New Year's Eve at her apartment, and at midnight, she raised her glass to being 30 and finally putting yourself first. I clinked my glass against hers, surrounded by people who saw me, who valued me, who remembered. My phone buzzed just after midnight. A text from Ruth: "Happy New Year, sweetheart. Your father and I are so proud of the woman you've become." A text from my father 2 minutes later: "Looking forward to celebrating your 31st in November. Already marked on my calendar." I smiled, saving both messages. The journey wasn't over. My parents would stumble, Vanessa would fall back into old patterns, family gatherings would still be complicated. But something fundamental had shifted. I'd stopped waiting for them to value me and started valuing myself. Tasha noticed me smiling at my phone. "Good news?" "Yeah," I said, tucking it away. "Just my parents remembering I exist." "Progress," she said, grinning. "Progress," I agreed. The birthday post remained at the top of my Facebook timeline, pinned there permanently. A reminder to them and to me: I am November 14th. I always have been. And I'm done letting anyone forget it. 3,000 miles away, in my childhood home, my mother looked at the framed photo of both her daughters on the mantel. For the first time, she noticed how many photos featured Vanessa alone, compared to the handful that included me. She made a mental note to change that. Some lessons come late, but they still count. The clock struck 12:30 a.m. January 1st, 2025. I stood on Tasha's balcony, looking out at the Chicago skyline, and felt something I hadn't felt in years, standing among family, belonging. Not because I'd forced anyone to see me, but because I'd finally seen myself. 30 years to learn that lesson. Better late than never.